How's it going, everyone? Joseph back here with another video, and I hope you're having an amazing week so far. Today, you join me back where it all began. We are at Villa Volkswagen here in Thornhill, and there's a very good reason for that, because 2 years ago, I picked up my 2023 Volkswagen GolfR from this very dealership. And well, 2 years later, I'm back. Not to buy another car, but to bring you guys the new 2025 Volkswagen GolfR. And the reason why I wanted to come back here specifically is, well, Villa Volkswagen took care of me many years ago when I was looking to test drive a GolfR and GTI, and I remembered that they went really out of their way to get me 2 manual transmission, 1 GolfR, 1 GTI that I could test drive in the same day, and Vincent was the one who helped me out. And I said, after that, I have to come back here to buy my GolfR when I'm ready, and I did. And now we're back to show you the latest generation of the GolfR. But before we get into the video, if you're new to the channel, my name is Joseph. I happen to be a car enthusiast with 3 kids, and I used to sell cars in the past. So if you're interested in my perspective, please subscribe. All right, now on with the video. So the question we need to answer today is, should you buy the 2025 Volkswagen GolfR? But more critically, should you get the black edition or just go for the standard one? Well, let's see. We have 2 versions of the black edition to take a look at today. We've got this really nice blue one that is sort of the basic model with the leather seats and the normal one that we'd usually get. But there is another version with the European styling package, which gives you cloth seats and the Akrapovic exhaust as an option. And that one is also very cool. But before we get into the details of them, let's talk about the basics. The GolfR is the hottest of hot hatches that Volkswagen offers. You can get this thing with all-wheel drive, 328 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque from a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and it is a monster. I love mine. It is super quick, it is fun to drive, and it gives you all the practicality of a regular hatchback. And that's one of the brilliant things about the GolfR. It is so special because it does everything so well, but it comes at a price. This thing isn't cheap. The base GolfR starts at $53,681 Canadian, with basically only 2 options. You can choose the colors, which are complimentary, or you can choose having a sunroof, and the sunroof is about a $1,250 option. And then there's the black edition, and that's where things get really interesting, because for $56,281 Canadian, you get this new special edition, which blacks out the emblems. It gives you blacked out wheels, it gives you darkened headlights, and it gives you that black badge on the side of the car. But it's not all rainbows and butterflies, because moving up to the black edition, you've got to pay $500 now for any of the 3 colors, because they black out the roof as well, which is definitely something they should have done on previous models, but charging you extra for the paint is a questionable thing in my mind, especially because it was free on the regular GolfR. The only other option you can choose from is taking cloth seats over the leather seats that come standard, and for that, you're not saving any money, but you're giving up the electric power assist for the seats, the memory seats, the ventilation, but you are saving some weight. And the last option you can choose from is whether you want a $3,000 titanium Akrapovic exhaust that used to only be available in Europe now for the black edition. And it sounds great, so take a listen. So what else has changed for 2025? Well, you've got new headlights that are sleeker and look really cool. They also have a new light signature, and the bumper is different. The whole front fascia has been tweaked just a little bit. You've got a little bit more cooling, some more air ducts and vents, but otherwise not much has changed. Volkswagen has stayed very true to the design, and you've got some new wheels that look a little sharper. They're 20% lighter than the previous generation, which is a great thing in terms of getting rid of that unsprung weight. Now for the eagle-eyed viewer, you might notice there are 2 other small changes. The R badge that used to be on the fender of the front of the car has now moved to the door on the front passenger and driver's side and looks a little different. And you may have noticed that there's a light up emblem on the front of the car, which looks really cool. Everybody's doing that, but because of that, they've had to move some of the sensors down below into the lower grille. That's really it from the outside. I would have loved the newer taillights that you get in Europe. Unfortunately, we don't get those here, but I'm glad that Volkswagen hasn't changed too much because the Golf R was an amazing looking car to begin with for the Mark 8 generation, and it's even better now for the 8.5. It's great that they've tweaked it, they've modernized it a little bit, it looks very sharp, and I'm happy that they haven't messed around too much with the formula. All right, let's take a look at the interior of the Golf R, and not much has changed except if you are taking the cloth seat option, you now have this Alcantara sort of gray piece that insert over there instead of the black leather, which you would get if you got the regular standard leather seats. But I have to say, I really like these European style seats. The cloth looks really nice, they hug you in place, you actually move around less, and it's better for the winter and the summer. I'm just frustrated with the fact that we don't have the electric power assist there, the memory seats and the cooled seats. That I wish we had, but otherwise, the interior looks exactly the same as a previous generation, except that now we've got that 12.9-inch infotainment system screen. All right, so let's talk about the screens. The one in the gauge cluster is exactly the same as the previous generation, but we've got some new fonts and we've got some really cool new displays in there. They've just tweaked it and modernized it a little bit. I love these digital gauge clusters that Volkswagen puts in their cars because they have so much configurability. You can change literally anything, and it's really cool to see these new graphics. They do add a little bit of excitement to the driving experience. And if we take a look at the main screen over on the right, that 12.9-inch digital infotainment system, it is huge. It's very similar to what you would have gotten from the Volkswagen Atlas and the ID4, and it is extremely high resolution. It functions very quickly. You've got a great backup camera system, but you don't have the three-dimensional backup camera or a 360 view. That is one thing that's a big miss, but otherwise, it is a much better infotainment system than the previous generation. It's a lot quicker, easier to respond, it doesn't lag, it doesn't take that time to warm up, and you've got some really nice shortcuts at the bottom with the sliders being backlit now. So it is a much more functional screen, and you can mess around with it a little bit and customize it the way that you want. So you've got a little more functionality built in there, and that's something that I think a lot of people really appreciate. Those sliders also, I have to mention, have much bigger real estate than in the previous generation. So it's a lot easier for you to go and play around with them when you need it, and because they're backlit, it's much easier to see them at night. And I love the graphics that we've got now for the climate controls. It looks really cool when you select where the air is coming from, and it's nice that you've got that dedicated shortcut on the screen instead of having to click the climate button just below. Overall, well done Volkswagen for the upgrades. The only downside with all this is really, I don't like having everything integrated into the screen, and this new infotainment screen just looks a little tacked on. Otherwise, a few other notable features. We still have these buttons over here in the center, which are a little redundant now. We also have this wireless charge pad, which is now ventilated, which really helps with overheating. And we've got, of course, that chicken nugget shifter, the gloss black around here, and you've got a few important buttons. Other than that, nothing's really changed. We've got that cup holder that sort of slides in and out, which looks kind of cool. And probably my favorite internal feature here is this armrest. I absolutely love this thing. And again, I wish more automakers did it. It's ratcheting, so it allows you to get really comfortable. You can slide it forwards and back. And when you lift it up completely, you also have a massive little storage area over there with some charge ports. I also love all the carbon fiber that we have in the black edition. It looks really cool. And you've got some beautiful ambient lighting, which you can't really see right now, but it adds a lot to the interior vibe of the car. Outside of that, we just have a really nice functional interior here. Volkswagen's done an exceptional job with the ergonomics and making everything look special. The only downside is we still have those touch sensitive buttons, which don't really bother me too much on the steering wheel, but the GTI gets the new physical buttons there. And you may have noticed that we've got some plastic shift paddles here, which could have been a little bit more exciting to look at and use, but it is nice to have. And they are relatively large, especially compared to the GTI. Moving to the back of the Golf R, we still have the same really nice leather seats back here. They look great, the same blue stitching, and we're kind of missing the blue piping back here. Unfortunately, that's a little bit of cost cutting on the Volkswagen side, but otherwise it is a nice functional back seat area, decent leg room. You've got some nice pockets on the back of the front seats, and to be honest with you, I can fit my 3 kids back there with no problem at all, so it can be used as a very practical family car. You also have the air vents back there with heated rear seats on either side, so that will help make the driving experience a little bit better for the kids. And you've got some charge ports below, the USB Type-C, so they can charge up their iPads and iPhones and all the other nonsense they may want to use while they're driving. One other important feature of the back of the Golf R is that you've got this really nice pull-down armrest that has a lot of space for you to put your elbow and has some functional cup holders in the middle, but you also have this pull-down section which allows you to have a pass-through to the back trunk, which is really important because it allows you to use that space more functionally without having to fold down the seats. Now let's take a look at the cargo area of the GolfR, and I love that we flip up the emblem still to open the trunk. It looks very cool, and the backup camera is hidden in there, so it keeps it nice and clean. But the cargo area is deceiving because on the outside it looks small, but when you open up the cargo area, you see you've got a ton of space. It is very practical, and it's deceivingly large because you don't realize how much space you have in there, and you can see the pass-through that allows you to put larger stuff through there. All of that's to say that it's very practical. I fit all of my photography gear in there when I go to shoots, and it allows me to do my full shopping for a week for the family of 5 that we are. But when we lift up the load cover, you'll notice we don't have a spare tire. That's where the subwoofer sits, and unfortunately Volkswagen has cut some costs in there, not giving us a spare tire, but we'll forgive them because again, the rest of the cargo area is rather large and very functional. One other thing that I'll mention about the cargo area is that now we get the warning triangle that comes with the cars. This is a European spec thing that before really didn't come with the cars, unfortunately, in North America, and now it seems like every single one is getting them, which is very cool. One last exterior feature that I wanted to touch on before we go for our drive is you've got this nice projector that gives you this R logo projected on the road every time you unlock your car and get close to it, and that to me is a really nice piece of attention to detail, and I love that they carry that forward again for the 8.5 generation. Alright, so let's go for our drive. And you're probably wondering, like I am, how does this new 2025 Volkswagen GolfR drive? Well, we're about to find out. First of all, when you get in here, you notice that this is the nice black edition with all of the European sort of spec seats and interior appointments, and it looks great. And I have to say, these cloth seats are phenomenally comfortable. I love the leather seats in mine too, but these ones are extra special. Partly because you can't get them on any other car other than this black edition GolfR, but partly because cloth seats are so underrated. Everybody goes straight to the leather options and they miss out on the comfort of having fabric seats, and in the wintertime they're not as cold, and in the summertime they're not as hot. So this is a great option that Volkswagen has given us. However, there is one caveat. If you go for the cloth seat option on the new GolfR, you're going to miss out on the cooled seats and the power adjustment, which is a little frustrating if you're going to be sharing the car with somebody else. But if you're a track enthusiast and you're going to take your GolfR on the track, this is the spec you want, because you'll save weight not only from the wheels and all the other cool stuff, but you're also going to save weight from the mechanics having that automatic seats. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. As you know, the GolfR, in my opinion, is a very, very special car because not only does it combine the great practicality of a regular hatchback that you can do all the family duties with, but it takes the GTI, the original hot hatch, and brings it to the next level by giving you 328 horsepower and all of this really great stuff. I mean, you've got carbon fiber in here, you've got these really big performance brakes, you've got these enormous paddle shifters on the steering wheel. It feels like a special car, but it's a regular hatchback that can do all the normal stuff. You're not compromising anything to have the performance and the excitement of the GolfR, and that to me is what makes this vehicle so special. But how does it drive compared to mine? Well, for starters, you'll notice that there's an automatic transmission here. You can't get the manual anymore, unfortunately, but the DSG in here is super fast in terms of shifting, and it feels right at home with all the performance and the all-wheel drive system that we've got. So it is a great combo, but for those of you that love driving a manual transmission, unfortunately, you're not going to get that with this car. That being said, it does mean that you're going to get the best performance out of this thing because it is super fast, and that is going to be important if you're going to take it to the track and have a lot of spirited drives. Other than that, driving this thing feels very similar to what I'm used to with my GolfR. I mean, everything is exactly where you'd expect it to be. It's set up the same way that I have it in my car. The biggest difference really is that you've got this giant screen over here and the fact that I don't have a third pedal. But otherwise, it does feel very familiar. So if you're coming from an older GolfR, you're not missing out too much in terms of performance or a massively different interior. But if you did want to get this special edition, black edition, there are some really cool things that come with it. And whether you like the special editions or not, that's debatable, but I feel like it's always nice to get the special model, not the everyday one. If you're already going for the GolfR, it is kind of nice that you have this even more special edition model. And one of the things that really was interesting about looking at this car versus the GTI is the price difference is not tremendously big. And I talked about it in my GTI video, which I'll post a link to in the description below. But if you're already spending around $50,000 for a GTI, the difference in price for this is relatively small, and now you get the all-wheel drive system, you get the added performance, and you get the specialness of the GolfR. And with this Black Edition package, you actually have a lot of flexibility. You can get the standard black package with the regular exhaust, and it gives you all of those, we'll call it black optics around the car. And you can also get it with the regular leather seats, so you don't have to feel like you're compromising too much by going for the Black Edition. But if you wanted the extra special one, you can of course option it this way at no cost. So you can get these fabric seats and the different interior completely for free, which is kind of cool. So the big question is it worth it? Well, here's the thing. There isn't much in the way of competition right now. All you really have is the GR Corolla that's left in a manual transmission with all-wheel drive and with this kind of performance. Everything else on the market now is basically front-wheel drive or a compromised two-seater. And so that's an interesting thing. If it were my money, I would definitely stick with the GolfR. The GR Corolla is very nice, and if you wanted purely a manual transmission car with all-wheel drive, being a normal hot hatch, that is the only one available on the market right now. But for everything else, for the daily sort of usability of a car, it just doesn't get better than this. And I love my GolfR, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And knowing now that there's this special edition, that you've got this other black option with the black tipped exhaust or the Akrapovic exhaust or these really cool fabric seats, this is a special car, and I definitely wouldn't think twice about it. Would I upgrade from my 2023 GolfR? I don't know if it's that much different or that much better than one I have, but if you're coming from a Mark 7, the nice thing is you've got all these new updates to the infotainment system, and a lot of the quirks and challenges that we had before that were really frustrating and infuriating for people that got the early GolfR models back in 2022 are now gone. And I think that in and of itself is a worthy upgrade. And so for the money, I think you're getting a lot of car. And the performance is definitely something that you would enjoy as well. We're not on a private track or anything like that, so we can't really open it up, but I can tell you just from sitting behind the wheel and driving in normal traffic, it feels tremendously fast, and the inputs from the pedals and the paddle shifters are great. You've got a lot of throttle response, you've got great brake feel, and the pedals feel really nice even though they are plastic. It would have been nice for them to give us some metallic ones or carbon fiber, but that's okay. That's for the aftermarket industry to take care of. Other than that, I really do love the GolfR, and I think they've done some really nice welcome changes for the 2025 model year, and chances are this is probably going to be the last one before everything goes electric. So we have to really appreciate what we have and enjoy the GolfR while it's still here. And that's really all I've got to say about it. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And if you're considering getting a GolfR or any Volkswagen, come check out Villa Volkswagen. They are wonderful people. Go take a look at Villa Volkswagen's inventory. Speak with Vincent or Daniel, the sales manager. They will absolutely hook you up. And thank you again for watching the video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.